Hey guys, welcome to Living the Logic. This is Manish Narayan, and today we're going to set up a .NET 8 web API that allows us to publish messages to a Kafka broker. All right, so let's get started. Very first thing, we want to set up our .NET 8 web API. So what I'm going to do is head over to my development folder. Again, feel free to choose where you want to create these projects. But anyway, we're going to do it in .NET 8. So I'm going to say .NET new web API. All right, and the name, we're going to call it a Kafka publisher. All right, so we're going to publish messages to a Kafka topic. And probably in the next video, I'll show you how to consume that in .NET 8. And then we're going to make sure the framework's set to .NET 8.0. And I'm going to mention controllers because the latest .NET 8 and 9, the previews, it creates an empty controllers folder. So it has kind of like API with everything set up in the program. I'm going to mention dash controllers here. So if I click on, oh wait, before I do this, let's escape that. I'm going to create a new folder in my development folder. So we'll call this Kafka net. Okay, name it whatever you want. Sorry, make directory Kafka net. All right, I'm going to cd into Kafka net. All right, and then I'm going to create the API. So again, .NET new web API. We'll name that Kafka publisher. All right, and then we'll choose .NET 8 as a framework, and then mention controllers here. So it's going to do its thing, create the Kafka Publisher Web API, and it's done. All right. If you hit dir, you should see Kafka Publisher folder. Let's head into that. And you'll see your standard app settings, your project file, program CS. And it comes with a default weather forecast model. All right. So we're going to edit it in VS Code. Okay. So before I do that, we're going to just add a package here. So we'll say .NET add package confluent.kafka. So this allows me to kind of talk to Kafka through .NET. So I'm going to go ahead and add that package. All right, let's head over to VS Code. I'm going to go ahead and open that project. So open folder, and we'll head over to C drive, development, Kafka net, and open the Kafka publisher folder. Okay. All right, perfect. And actually, let me open up, let's close this folder. Let's open up the root folder here. So we'll go ahead and open up folder and go back to C drive, development, Kafka net, and we'll open this folder here. Okay, so we got a Kafka publisher with controllers. We got a default weather forecast controller. We got a program CS, and we have a model, a default model here. Okay. So basically, what I'm going to do is first thing is let's set up our Docker. So we're going to set up Kafka on Docker. All right. So before we do that, we want to be able to add a Docker compose file. So I want to put it in the root directory. So go ahead and say, what's this? And put under Kafka Publisher, add a new file, and we'll call this Docker compose.yaml. Oops, I renamed that wrong. Let's rename that to YML and make that YAML. Sorry about that. All right. So Docker compose YAML. All right. So basically, we want to be able to run Kafka on Docker as a Docker container. And just FYI, Kafka is a message broker where you can publish messages to different topics. The broker is all maintained under Zookeeper. All right. And so think of Kafka as a message broker. Kind of similar to RabbitMQ. If you've seen my other videos where RabbitMQ is also a message broker, you can publish messages to different queues. So same Same deal with Kafka. Okay. So what I'm going to do is set up the Docker Compose. So set up the version. 3.7. You have a different version. That's fine. Services. All right. So the two services we're going to have, one is Zookeeper. Okay. So we're going to have Zookeeper. All right. And here we're going to say image, and we'll say Confluent Inc. and CP Zookeeper. And as of this version, having 7.5.0. All right. And then environment. And environment, we're going to set up two variables here. So we'll have Zookeeper client underscore port. And that's going to be 2180. Okay, and then Zookeeper underscore tick time, and that's going to be 2000. Okay, all right, and that's our first service. So we're going to add now Kafka, which is our main service here. Okay, and again, image, and it's going to be Confluent Inc. CP Kafka and version 7.0. Okay, and we'll say that depends on, and that's going to be Zookeeper. And the ports, so default port for Kafka, that's 9092. So 9092, colon 9092. Okay. And then we're going to have some environment variables here. So environment, and let me turn the caps lock on. So we have Kafka broker ID. So we're going to have one broker here. Okay. And then we're going to have Kafka Zookeeper connect. Okay. And that we just mentioned the Zookeeper service. So that's on port 2181. Okay. And Kafka advertised listeners. And we just give it the local host running port 9092. Right. And the last variable we defined is Kafka offset replication. All right, so that's our Docker Compose. All right, so what I'll do is view terminal, and it's dir here. All right, we're going to head into Kafka Publisher, and I should see my Docker Compose. There we go. So basically, I'm going to say Docker Compose up -d. All right, and it's going to start pulling the Zookeeper Kafka images, and once it's started, you should see Kafka Publisher started here. So you just click on this, and you should see it here. Okay, so notice you have your container is Kafka Publisher. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to head back over to VS Code. All right. So in VS Code, we have a controller here. We have also a default model. So what I'm going to do is get rid of weather forecast. We can just delete that. Okay, move to recycle bin. I'm going to add two more folders here. We're going to add a folder for services and models. All right, so we're going to add another folder here. We'll call this models. And I'm going to add another folder for services. Okay. All right. So the very first thing, let's set up our app settings. Okay. So in app settings, I'm going to head over to app settings JSON. I'm going to add a section for our Kafka broker. So we'll say Kafka, and what we'll do is we'll say bootstrap servers, and that's going to be localhost port 9092. And the topic, so here we'll just name our topic test topic. You can name it whatever you feel. Test topic. All right. Let's add a new model. All right. So to read these settings in, we're going to add a new model. So I'm going to right-click models, new file, and we'll call this Kafka settings.cs. All right. And here I'm going to say public say public, or let's give it a namespace. So namespace, I'll name it Kafka Publisher dot models. Okay, and public class Kafka settings. Okay. All right. So basically, we have two properties that are gonna map to our app settings JSON. So public string, and this is a best practice here. So bootstrap servers get set. Okay, and let's default string.empty. Okay, and one more is public string topic name. So topic get set, and here again string.empty. Okay, so we have our Kafka settings class. Okay, next thing we want to do is set up our service. All right, so we're going to have a new service library here. So we'll right-click services, new file, and we'll call this the Kafka Producer service. And in the next video, I'll show you how to consume it. Okay, so Kafka Producer service. All right, hope you can see that okay. All right, so let's give it a namespace. And we'll say Kafka Publisher dot services. Okay, and here I'm going to say public class Kafka Producer service. All right, so first thing we're going to do is kind of inject the Kafka settings. So we'll say read only Kafka settings. Okay, and notice it brings in the models there. Great, and underscore settings. And then what we'll do is we'll use the Kafka.NET library to create a producer. So we'll have a private read-only iProducer, and that's going to be null string. Call that producer. Okay. And notice it's complaining. It's because I need to bring in using confluent.kafka. All right. So the very next step is to set up or inject the producer service. Okay. So what we'll do is create a constructor here. So we'll say public Kafka producer service, and we'll inject the options here. So options Kafka setting and options. Okay, so we'll inject it here. So we'll just say settings equals options dot value. Okay, and we'll set up the config here. So var config, it's going to be new producer config. And then here we're going to say bootstrap servers equals settings dot bootstrap servers. So again, this maps from our app settings JSON. Okay, and finally we create the producer. So new producer builder. Okay, this is all part of the Kafka library. So null and we pass big. All right, so our service will have one method basically to publish a message to a topic, okay? And our topic, remember, is defined in our app settings JSON. So we'll say public async pass publish. And basically we await and use a producer to produce async. All right. Message and value equals message. Okay, that should do it for our producer service. Okay, so Kafka producer service. All right, I'm going to save that file. Okay, now that we have our service, before we use in our controller, let's take care of our dependency injection in our program CS. Okay, so what we're going to do is after the container builder where it gets created, we're going to add services here. So we'll say builder.configure. Okay, and here it's of type of Kafka settings. Okay, and we'll say builder.configuration, dot get section. Basically, we're grabbing the Kafka section in our app settings JSON. Okay, so that should help us there. And then we're going to add a singleton for the producer service. So we'll say builder.services.add singleton, and producer service. There we go. Okay. All right, so we got our Kafka producer service, add singleton, and the rest should stay the same. Nothing else needs to be changed. That's the default .NET Web API settings for Swagger and so on. Okay. Perfect. All right. Finally, we got to change the controller. So it comes with a default weather forecast controller. So what I'm going to do is rename this first. Okay. We'll name that to a Kafka controller. So rename this to a Kafka controller. Okay. And make sure you rename it here. So Kafka controller. Okay. We can get rid of the default weather stuff here. Make sure we're naming this. Controller. Okay. We can get rid of this method that's default. Okay, so we have a basic controller, Kafka controller here. Okay. I'm gonna create whenever I create an API, I make sure the route is API / you can use versioning and so on, but here's API name of the controller, so Kafka, and then our route there, right? So before we do anything, we want to make sure we inject our producer service, so Kafka producer service, all right, and that's going to be a Kafka producer, call it, okay, and make sure you constructor, right? So we're going to have a Kafka producer service, make sure to inject that, right? So Kafka producer. All right, so we've injected our service. Now let's create an action here. So we'll create a post endpoint. So we'll say HTTP post, and the route will be publish. Okay, so we'll say public async task I action result. All right, and we're going to say publish. And since we're going to post some string through a body or JSON, say from body, and we'll say string message. Keep it simple. And basically, we await our producer, so Kafka producer, and we method, and we pass the method. And we just return and message Kafka. Okay. If all looks good, let's go ahead and hit save all. If all looks good, we could just run the service and try to publish a message. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit .NET run here. See if everything looks good. There's no compilation errors. And it's building the CS project here. All right, give it a second. Should build. So again, we organize our controllers. We have models folder, services. Set up our dependency injection in program CS. We have our Docker container running with Kafka running on localhost 9092. We have our Docker compose YAML file, and there we go. All right, so it's running on port 5282. Okay, so I set up Postman. You can use the Swagger page if you want as well. Let me just show you this. So here's Postman. So basically, I'm going to post to port 5282. So I'm going to change this here, 5282. So localhost API Kafka publish. We'll say hello Kafka here and just say send. All right, looks like it works. I got a 200 back. Message published to Kafka. Now, how do you see the messages in Kafka? All right. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go open Docker. Now you can use a UI to visualize Kafka messages, but here I'm going to use the terminal in in Docker desktop, right? So here I can say Docker exec. All right, now name of my container. So I believe my container name is Kafka Publisher. Okay, I will say Kafka console consumer. Okay, and we'll say bootstrap server localhost 9092, and the topic name is, we named it test topic. Okay, and we'll just say show the messages from the beginning. Okay. Oh, uh, Kafka Publisher. Let me take a look. What's the name of my container here? Oh, okay, I have it Kafka Publisher Kafka 1. So let's try that again. Kafka Publisher dash Kafka 1 dash Kafka dash 1. Okay, so it looks like it's running. Let's go ahead and publish some messages. We'll say hello Kafka. We'll hit it a few times here. Okay, and if I go back to Docker, there we go. You see the messages coming through. So they're going to sit in that topic until a consumer comes by and picks them up and processes the messages. So there you go, pretty quick. Again, you could point to your Kafka sitting in AWS or wherever you have it hosted. Right now it's on Docker container, but this is how you set up .NET 8 Web API and a simple Kafka Producer using the Confluent Kafka library to publish messages to a topic. Well, I hope you had fun. If you have any questions, leave a comment on the video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you have any interesting topic that you need help with at work or at school, just send me a message and I'll be happy to create a short video for it. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching Living the Logic. Bye, guys. Hey guys, if you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. See you next time.